The imperial capital, Rappenheim, is burning. 2 million soldiers obliterated, hundreds of thousands of civilians dead. This isn't a natural disaster. This is the just war spearheaded by so-called heroes to vanquish the darkness. And right now, the architects of this chaos stand before the shrine they call a demon's nest, facing down the man who dared to be king. Sword Emperor Cyrus, Fist King Tezron, humanity's radiant champions. Facing them is the blue-haired demon king, Leifenhart. He demands, "Why do you call my empire, the one I built to protect the elves, orcs, dwarves enslaved and hunted by you, the empire darkness?" Their only answer, "Come out and die, demon." Battle cries shake the sky, steel flashes. Human warriors scream to purge the beast's true nature. Leifenhart just sneers. "Beasts? I only taught them to fight the human way. It was you who brought war and oppression to this land." Is he right? It doesn't matter on the battlefield. Here, there's only victors and corpses. The reports keep coming. Tacid the orc, the simple warrior who lived by a code of honor, dead. Guru Atilka the troll, the ugly monster loved by the birds, returned to the earth. Even his most trusted dwarf smith, killed in humanity's purge. Leifenhart's despair and fury burn hotter with every breath. His last remaining companion, the Elven Girl Ceres, is now their target. Because her skin is a little tanned, you treat a pure-blooded high elf as a dark elf? Pure magic blasts against martial aura. Leifenhart knows it. The debate is over. Now, only a fight to the death remains. Facing the overwhelming accusations, Leifenhart laughs. A mocking, despairing laugh. "You want me to be the demon king of your tales? Fine, as you wish." Purple energy erupts skyward. The true form of the Dark King manifests at last. His wrath will drown it all, but the disparity in power is crushing. Leifenhart, the Archmage, has seen it. Elves treated as beautiful, long-lived servants. Dwarves as mules in the mines. Orcs as manual labor. Trolls as ingredients for potions. He built an empire for equality, only to watch his comrades fall one by one. Everything he fought to protect is crumbling. His comrades, his ideals, the empire he built, facing the relentless advance of his nemesis, Fist King Tezron, pure magic is failing. The absolute gap in physical prowess is a chasm a mage cannot cross. Did Leifenhart not fight back? He did. He poured every ounce of his magic into defending them. And the result? The slaughter of his people, the destruction of his cities. He never sought war with humanity. The answer he got was genocide. What kind of fucking justice is that? The final opponent, Fist King Tezron. No fancy techniques, just the most primal, overwhelming physical power and will. Golden aura illuminates the ruins and Leifenhart's despair. Heroic legends are lies. Reality has one rule, the one with the stronger body and gets to stand last. Magic shield shattered, his body broken. Is living as slaves your true selves? The sheer arrogance of that statement makes Leifenhart want to scream. But he cannot fall, not for victory, but for the volcanic rage in his chest. He must do something, anything, even if it means a desperate, suicidal gambit. He remembers the forbidden magic found in ruins, a spell even he couldn't fully grasp. The temporal regression spell, powerful enough to shake the divine domains. No time to calculate the odds. Leifenhart makes his desperate play, channeling his last drops of mana into the activation. "I won't die. I can't die like this." Blinding white light consumes everything. At the epicenter of the blast, Leifenhart's consciousness is shredded, tossed into the chaotic streams of time. He doesn't know where he's going, or if he even exists anymore. Meanwhile, in a remote mountain cabin, a young man with no memories awakens. Warmth, sunlight, the feeling of being alive. Leifenhart is disoriented. That desperate, suicidal spell, it worked. He looks at his unfamiliar hands, the unfamiliar room. Did I leap back in time? Where is this? Who am I now? A torrent of questions with no one to answer. And when he gets out of bed and sees himself in the mirror, his worldview shatters. These muscles, these calluses, this physique rugged enough to make someone cry. Why does a mage have a six-pack? This body, brimming with raw power, is utterly foreign, yet unsettlingly familiar. These features, this determined glare, this stubbornly closed mouth, add a few years and a beard. Shit. Leifenhart's mind explodes. The face in the mirror. It's unmistakably a younger, pre-Fist King Tezron. Have I been reborn in my mortal enemy's body? Before he can process this existential crisis, a white-haired behemoth of a man with an aura that could crush stone bursts through the door. "Brat, the sun's at its peak, and you're still loafing?" This monster calls him. "Tezron." and accuses him of again using amnesia as an excuse. Wait, this old man, could he be Gerald, Tesserin's master, one of the continent's greatest martial warriors? The old man offers no chance for explanation. Enough chit-chat. Now training begins. What awaits Leifenhart, now Tesseron, isn't the joy of a second life, but a decade-long hell forged in iron-fisted discipline. Hell, every single day, pummeled while tied to a post, pounded under waterfalls, climbing mountains with boulders on his back. What kind of training is this? Am I dying series? A mage's soul screams within a warrior's hell, and the old monster Gerald just muses. He seems a bit softer today. Gerald's training philosophy is brutally simple. Because humans are weak, they need weapons? Bullshit. Weak bodies? Train them to the brink of death. Forge muscles into steel, willpower into mountains. I chose you as my disciple. So damn well believe in your body's possibilities. Inspiring, if not for the daily agony that dances on the edge of death. The training, it never ends. Meet until you puke, run until your legs give out. But in those moments between life and death, Leifenhart starts sensing the ocean deep within this body. Not mana, but something more primal, more violent. The seed of a warrior's aura. He survived. That alone was the first miracle. He starts thinking rationally. He's the future Leifenhart, soul inside his past nemesis. Does a young version of himself exist out there now? Two selves in one timeline? It's a paradox. But one thing is crystal clear. The prize for this invincible vessel is surviving Gerald's training first. He formulates two hypotheses. 1. Future him occupies Tesserin's body. Young Leifenhart out there is his past self. 2. The far more chilling option. The soul residing within young Leifenhart right now is actually Fist King Tesserin's. Either way, fate has well and truly derailed. Escape plans? Concocted, attempted, 9 times. Every time, caught by the mountain of an old man. A mage this time? Last time you claimed to be a reincarnated martial arts master from the Far East. Gerald has seen through every ridiculous excuse. Jim Unbreakable specializes in breaking defiance and escape attempts, with 130 years of expertise. He gives up. The once Demon King, famed for his unbreakable, will finally abandons futile escape attempts. He channels all his focus into understanding, adapting to, and conquering this body and its hellish regimen. Pain becomes his sole nutrient. Time flies amidst agony. Another 3 years pass. In one excruciating moment, when the body's torment peaks, a shackle snaps. Golden flames erupt, not from Tesserin's body, but from the fusion of Leifenhart's soul within it. Aura awakened, not as the warrior Tesseron, but as a new entity, the fusion of a mage's wisdom and a warrior's potential. Gerald is ecstatic. See? This is the result of the unbreakable style. For Leifenhart, it's the first stepping stone out of hell. After awakening, the training escalates to combat. Combat with whom? With Master Gerald himself, in free sparring matches. Finally learning skills? Yep, the skill is don't die. Years of brutal master-disciple brawls begin. The latent potential sealed within Tesserin's body is violently dismantled, rebuilt, and amplified, layer by layer. 10 years gone in a flash. The intruder forced into this body now wields a warrior's aura with terrifying proficiency. The power of a single calamity horn staggers even him. Is this my limit? No, I can go further. The soul of a mage has finally blossomed into a flower of pure, brutal violence within this warrior's flesh. After 10 years of hellish training, he just pushed the calamity horn to the 4th level. But you think that's the end? The real chaos is just starting to brew. On his way down the mountain, the gears of fate grind hard. A redhead is desperately trying to recall magic theories, while a hooded assassin is already eyeing him from the shadows, muttering, "This aura, it's not human." And then a green shadow bursts from the ground, radiating murderous intent. A direct confrontation. A panicked young orc is being pursued. Facing this unknown human, he bellows, "Human, you, pretend you didn't see me." And our protagonists reply, a chilling smirk. Then, "I won't kill you, enemy or ally." That line was blurred from the very start. The plot twists hard. One moment, it's "Can you trust me?" The next, the human erupts with purple magic. The orc's world shatters. "You're a mage, benefactor?" The protagonist's inner voice. "With this body? Is that strange?" A wise sorcerer's soul trapped in a fighter's body. A true power play. Trouble arrives. The pursuers show up instantly, trying to buy info with a single gold coin. Standing above them, Our hero's gaze drips with contempt. You mean to give me a gold coin? These soldiers are clueless. They don't realize whose life thread they just tangled with. The hero blocks the cave entrance. This is my home. You're not entering. The pursuers scoff and mock him. They miss it. As he mutters, the fist is a weapon. Mercy is for the weak. A purple aura of destruction begins coiling around his hand. Mercy is for the dead. The fight begins. A wooden staff? Think again. In the hands of Jim Unbreakable, everything is a weapon. Don't worry, you won't die if hit by this. That line alone gives chills. These enemies still want to charge in? They're perfecting themselves for a beatdown. Total suppression. A slash from the blonde swordsman's blade doesn't even scratch the hero's skin. It just bounces off. The man is utterly confused. And our hero, calmly thinking, my style has no defense, only attack. Even with shattered bones, they won't die. This isn't a fight. It's a one-sided lesson. Dust settles. The ground is littered with thugs beaten into unconsciousness. Except one daredevil still asks for a name. Our hero chuckles in disbelief. My name? You still don't get it. A single punch is the only answer. He dusts off his hands, feeling oddly unsatisfied. Unknowingly, the unyielding creed of Jim Unbreakable is now carved into his soul. The orc warrior kneels, pledging solemnly. Savior, I will remember this day, and one day wield my sword for you. The hero is stunned. That familiar feeling. He gives his past life's name. Leifenhart Wald Antares. The gears of fate click into place. This young orc he just saved would, in another life, become Tacit, one of his 4 heavenly kings. Beneath a sunset over the cliffs, the young Tacit refuses a life of servitude and chooses the wilderness. Our hero points the way. Before parting, Tacit reveals his true name. History, from this moment on, is permanently altered. The original Fist King Tezron would never have lifted a finger for an orc. Finally, descent. After a decade of training, our hero looks down at the world below, but his mind is in turmoil. He realizes fate is going haywire. He met and helped Tacit, who was supposed to be his enemy. The butterfly effect has started flapping its wings. The final lesson at the mountain peak. Master Gerald's voice booms like a bell. Listen, brat. First law, live as you wish. Forget good or evil. The hero's eyes widen. What absolute freedom. 60 years ago, his master's master said the same. The martial and philosophical legacy is complete. The master reveals the second law. You can be evil, but be elegant. Then he hits the core. Stand with those who face injustice. The weak are not the same as the wronged. Finally, gripping his disciple's shoulder, he declares with absolute force. And most of all, never let this martial art die out. Find an heir. 3 teachings, 1 key. A new world awaits. Time to descend. The master hands over a pouch of 30 silver coins and a treasure map as a gift. The hero stares at the meager funds, then at his master's obviously immense wealth. Lost for words. He can't help but sass. Master, aren't you a millionaire in Basil Kingdom? Is that all? A final, resounding roar splits the air. The master burns his last vestiges of aura to forge a path for his disciple. Go, my disciple. Don't mourn our parting. Savage energy tears through the glaciers, launching the hero forward. His final gift, a farewell explosion. From atop a hill, the hero looks down at the village. Memory floods back. This place, this exact time, it clicks. In his past life, he explored the Valley of Death ruins here with a mage, and the fools missed the real treasure. A perfect, devious plan takes shape in an instant. Panic in the village square. Villagers whisper fearfully about the Valley of Death, which cannot be approached. Then, a group of arrogant noble knights arrives. They need a guide, and they're conscripting forcefully. Having already beaten the village chief, they dare anyone to refuse. Tension hits rock bottom. A villager named Ted is pressured into volunteering. He doesn't want to go. His wife and daughter are crying. But the crowd's pressure is suffocating. Then, a low voice cuts through the silence. Then I'll go. Everyone whips around. It's a dark-haired traveler, walking up with unsettling calm. The hero, now going by Leif, stands before the knights with a relaxed smile. Not to worry, the Valley of Death, right? I know a safe path. But his mind is elsewhere. Perfect. A free expedition team served up on a platter. They'll make excellent bait to distract those ruin-guarding monsters. The knights ventured deep into the Valley of Death, hunting a legendary heirloom blade. Their young leader, Stefan, is brimming with noble pride, completely blind to the graveyard they're entering. Danger strikes faster than a lightning bolt. The ruins awaken to defend themselves. A guardian emerges from the dark, and clutched in its hand is the very blade Stefan seeks, the demon's sword, Altion. Stefan loses it. The sight of his family's blade drives him into a reckless rage, and he lunges without a second thought, dragging his entire knight order into a death trap. Talk about a weak link. The Guardian swats Stefan aside like a fly. Watching this pathetic swordsmanship, Leithian, our reincarnated protagonist, silently vomits in his mind. Even his master's worst disciple would have mopped the floor with this fool. But Leithian, the eternal tactician, sees the bigger picture. This cursed place doesn't just kill, it assimilates. It turns invaders into new guardians, forever bound to this tomb. If he doesn't act, they'll all get a one-way ticket to eternity here. No choice. Leithian shoots into the fray. But there's no magic this time. He unleashes a decade of hellish physical training, the body of a warrior combined with the battle IQ of a grand archmage. His first punch alone sends tremors through the cavern. But the Guardian is no ordinary foe. It's a supernatural abomination, overpowering for a mere physical brawler. Just as the momentum stalls, a divine light pierces the darkness. It's the red-headed priestess, Killian. She's still here. Holy strike. His divinely enchanted fist shatters the demon's defenses. Leithian's mind explodes with possibilities. A warrior's aura fused with divine blessing. This is a path his mage self never imagined. This changes everything. The demon is obliterated before it can utter a sound. As the holy light fades, Leithian stands alone amidst the ruins. The surviving knights can only stare. What kind of monster is this? The holy blade they almost died for, it's probably less than trash in his eyes. With the demon gone, aristocratic pride returns like a bad rash. Bruised and battered, Lord Stefan limps over, demanding to know who this commoner is, daring to be so disrespectful to his noble self. Leithian doesn't even spare him a glance. He casually picks up the legendary demon sword, Altion, gives it a worthless tap with his finger, and tosses it clattering at Stefan's feet. Here, your family's trinket. Useless for me. Deafening silence. The legendary heirloom they almost died for, treated as a piece of refuse. Leithian simply pockets a massive haul of gold coins from the ruins, dusts off his hands, and turns to leave without a word. In that moment, an entire order's knightly pride is utterly and completely shattered. Flush with gold, Leithian reaches his true destination, the capital of Chadden Duchy. Here, under the bright sun, the law is a punchline. The city walls aren't plastered with notices, but with price tags for human lives. Wealth is the only god this city worships. Irony strikes instantly. Who does he run into? Killian, the red-headed priestess. She tracked him all the way here and declares, point blank, that she's following him. Her reason is brutally simple. You are the strongest being I have ever witnessed. Following you is my pilgrimage. Leithian has no time for sentimentality. The person he's looking for is in this city's darkest, foulest pit. With his new follower in tow, he walks straight towards that infamous name, Elvenheim, a market with one exclusive commodity, enslaved elves. Pushing open the heavy doors, a stench hits them, not of merchandise, but of rotting despair. Inside, spotlights shine on cages. Not livestock, but living, breathing elves, tagged with numbers, waiting to be sold like chattel. Leithian's gaze sweeps the room, finally locking onto a cage in a corner. Inside, a blonde-haired elven girl curls into herself. Scars mar her face, her eyes are hollow. A cold, metal tag hangs from her neck, bearing a single number, 148. Ceres, his most trusted companion from his past life. Reduced to this. Found you. A storm is about to erupt, and it will start right here, in the darkest corner of this slave pit. Narrator's hot take. Folks, this is what we call a dimension drop. While others fuss over knightly honor and ancestral swords, the real powerhouse is already on the board to change the world. Leithian's path of vengeance and salvation, the curtain has just risen. Leithian, armed with a decade of training and a hefty fortune, entered the capital of Chadden Duchy. Here, everything could be bought with money, including law and human dignity. Amidst this chaos, he once again encountered Killian. This time, the red-haired healer who had witnessed the miracle in the mountains made up her mind. She decided on the spot to follow him, the strongest person she had ever seen. Together, they headed straight for the city's darkest heart, Elvenheim, the infamous auction house for elf slaves. The irony? In this place, money was the only god, and Leithian's coin purse was about to smash that filthy altar. The auction hall was a living hell under the spotlight. Non-human races were tagged with price labels, waiting like livestock to be sold. Leithian, no, It was Lepenhart's soul burning within, was furious. He suppressed his rage and immediately pointed out the day's most special item, Battle Elf number 148. Everyone craned their necks to see this rare merchandise. As she turned around, the light illuminated her golden hair and that horrifying new scar across her face. Time seemed to stand still. Lepenhart's pupils contracted violently. Ceres, his past life fade, his very first goal after leaving the mountains, was right here, enduring such inhuman humiliation. This wasn't a reunion. For him, it felt like witnessing a crime scene he had arrived a decade too late. Suppressing the urge to embrace her, Lepenhart, bought her with the calmest voice. Then he did something that left everyone, including Ceres herself, speechless. He took off his own coat, draped it over her scarred shoulders, and solemnly bestowed upon her a name and a surname. Ceres Valencia. This wasn't just a name. It was a gift to a slave, a warrior, an elf, the gift of complete freedom and identity. Ceres was utterly baffled. Immense confusion overshadowed any possible gratitude. She stared at this strange human before her, her eyes filled only with wary suspicion. What followed felt even more like a dream, a luxurious restaurant, custom-made weapons. This anomalous good fortune only sent chills down her spine. She was waiting for the other shoe to drop, for this man to show his true fangs. And what Leifin needed to do was thaw this frozen fortress that his past self had inadvertently created, using time and action as his warmth. However, she guessed wrong. The real fangs came from a darker place. Theric, that perverted noble buyer, had his prized goods snatched away. He wasn't about to let it slide. The hounds he sent weren't street thugs. They were his top-tier hunting beasts. Leading them was Lantas, a fallen former knight, a monster who had awakened his aura. The hunt began in the city's shadowy alleys. Killian's divine blessings barely shimmered, and Ceres drew her new sword with skilled grace, but against an absolute power gap, it was all futile. Lantas didn't even get serious. He dismantled their resistance as easily as crushing insects. Killian was forced to use her trump card, the high-tier divine art Existence Erasure, creating an invisibility cloak of mana around the three of them. This wasn't a counterattack. It was a desperate, humiliating flight for survival. Escape? Trying to run invisible from a top-tier hunter who could sense life force? It was a joke. Killian poured all her strength into Philane's blessing, trying to create a sliver of a chance for a fated reunion. But what she discovered, to her despair, was that Lantas' aura was like a searchlight in the night, pinpointing their location with chilling accuracy. Their hiding place was shattered by a single palm strike. Lantas' twisted face appeared in the hole he made. He effortlessly crushed Ceres' sword, kicked Leifin away with a spray of blood. But what truly drove Lepenhart's soul into a frenzy was when Lantas shifted his disgusting interest to Killian, his eyes roving over her with foul desire. This was pure humiliation. Yet Tessrin's body, his physical vessel, was battered and unmoving. The founder of an empire, the reborn Fist King, could not protect those he wished to protect, couldn't even stand up. Despair, humiliation, and overwhelming rage threatened to tear his soul apart. The crisis had reached its peak, and the executioner's blade was already hanging over their heads. At the edge of the abyss of despair, Lepenhart's will finally pierce through the physical agony and the memories of a past life, resonating with the deepest layers of this Tezron body. He was neither purely a mage, nor purely a warrior anymore. He was the reincarnated, the avenger, and the protector. He saw the fear in Ceres' eyes, the resolve in Killian's. Then, an older, more domineering power roared from the depths of his soul, coursing through every meridian, ordering his battered body to move. He struggled, slowly lifting his head from the rubble, his gaze fixed lethally on Lantas. He felt the aura within him roaring, blazing. It wasn't the aura taught by Master Gerald. It was an aura born from the fusion of his past life mage's will and his current life's warrior obsession, forged for protection. He opened his mouth, forcing a hoarse phrase from the depths of his throat. You chose the wrong people to mess with. This wasn't a threat. It was a sentence. The real fight was only beginning now. Killian burns through her divine energy in a desperate gamble to twist fate. But no miracle arrives. The hunter does. Sir Lantas, whose awakened aura can track prey with pinpoint accuracy. Even the sound of heartbeat is a beacon to him. It's over. The cover is shattered into dust by a single kick from Lantas. His face, a mask of contorted pleasure, fixates on his prey like collector's items. You thought he was just after Ceres? Dead wrong. It's true. Twisted Desire is aimed squarely at Killian, the red-haired priestess. Here comes the lesson in absolute suppression. Leifin lunges, a blur of fury, and is swatted aside like a fly by Lanta's aura-charged palm. Bones scream. The body hits the wall with a sickening crunch. All the knowledge of an archmage, those fists forged in a decade of hellish training. It means nothing against the brutal, refined power of a fallen knight. No, Killian is caught. Lantas doesn't care about the elf. He wants Killian. Listen to his vile whisper. What a perfect face, my dear. He's savoring it. And Leifin? He's writhing on the ground, a broken vessel, forced to watch as Ceres, the companion he failed in a past life, is dragged next into this nightmare. Ceres fights back, a lifetime of trauma screaming in her eyes. This is not the future ally, but a broken creature, a decade of torture leading to this moment. And Leifin sees it all. The butterfly effect changed history, but it couldn't erase the gut-wrenching, useless feeling of watching your most cherished companion suffer. Killian, the captured prey, what is she doing? At this absolute brink, she's weaving a sacred prayer, not for healing, but for offense. A blessing meant for weapons. She's channeling it onto Leifin's very body. She cast a spell meant for steel, onto my body. This is madness. This is a desperate fusion of divine healing and brutal martial force. Kaboom! A violent eruption of pink-purple divine energy tears out of Leifin. This isn't just aura. This is the sacred strike. Martial fury amplified by divine intervention. Rage, humiliation, and the desperate trust of a companion, all compressed into one earth-shattering blow. Did Killian's gamble light the fuse for a comeback? Or did she just throw fuel on the fire of their own destruction? A decade ago, in the embers of Antares, Leifenhart's face was covered in soot, but that was the least of his worries. It was the title, Lord. Just call me by my name, he insisted. But his loyal follower only shook his head. Some distances, it seems, are defined from the very first word. Little did they know, his retreating back was the final echo of a mighty empire. A fulfilled prophecy? Or a self-made trap? The Demon King looked down from his tower at the 2 million-strong army assembled from the entire continent to eradicate him. He smirked. Destroying a nation to win a war? How ironic. Even more ironic was that humanity's God had woven a prophecy of failure for him. A prophecy whose very failure allowed him to escape, slipping through the shattered strands of fate to the other side of time. The prophecy burns, fate weaves its threads. The hero shall walk with an elf, led by an orc. He will shatter the pillar of fate. McKellen remembered the shock when the dwarves hailed him as their savior. He had saved everything, yet couldn't comprehend the reality of it all. The final farewell, gilded by a seaside sunset. He blessed his comrades and promised the elf named Ceres that he'd return. But you never know how fate will unfold. Those words were for himself. A promise beneath the arch, heavy with finality. I'll definitely be waiting for you, she repeated, her eyes holding a firm, unyielding light. Yet, the twilight stretched her lonely silhouette. Behind this warm promise lay a brutal reality. At that very moment, she was labeled a defect, surrounded by multiple warriors in a training ground. From a person promised protection to a training tool, the fall was instantaneous. A bloody transaction, conducted in gentle light. Being able to cut flesh is important for raising an elven slayer, the seller said casually. The buyer nodded, a faint, unsettling curve on his lips. A pervert. A mere 300 gold coins bought her entire life. And she, with chilling calmness, almost resigned, addressed her cruel new master. So, you are my new master. When despair reaches its peak, even resistance seems futile. Salvation began with a name and a coat. Scars were gently healed, a cold body wrapped in warm fur. And most importantly, a name, Ceres Valencia. But does a slave need a family name? She asked cautiously. It's what you deserve, replied the man who was once the archmage Leifenhart, now going by Leifin. His answer left no room for doubt. At that moment, an object became a person again. The plan was in shambles. Tarek was like a hyena robbed of its prey, furious. Number 148, the flawed slayer he had tormented for 10 years, the tool he planned to purify for some dark ritual, was gone. Sold for cash to a complete stranger. Someone going around with enough cash to buy a slayer? Tarek smelled danger, and an even more insane possessiveness ignited. He had to get her back. A defect was causing a chase. Tarek's men were scrambling for information on the buyer. Meanwhile, Ceres was trying on the new gear Leifin had gotten her. Simple clothes, yet they left her lost. She still instinctively called him master, and Leifin struggled to sever this last chain. Don't think of me as your master. On the city streets, a new dynamic was being clumsily forged. Companion? The concept left Ceres utterly bewildered. That wasn't in the heroic tales. And he bought her clothes? It was all so human, so strange. But her attention was swiftly captured by something else. A table overflowing with absurdly delicious food. Her eyes sparkled, her cheeks flushed. From prisoner to respected individual, to a companion worthy of a feast. The whiplash was too much even for her to process. And the plot twist arrived with startling speed. Danger was already at the door. A familiar restaurant, but the flavor had changed. Killian and Leifin debated the sanctity of their religious order's commerce. But Ceres' silence was the real heart of the scene. In his past life, he had saved her here. In this life, he was treating her to a meal. A single word difference from savior to customer, a subtle shift in dynamics that created a tidal wave within her. She was no longer a weakling needing rescue, but the price of this equality was confronting every ounce of her past pain. Shopping for weapons, a seemingly ordinary outing, was riddled with slip-ups. Don't you normally use a scimitar? Leifin blurted out, startling Ceres. How'd he know? Killian swooped in with flattery about a master warrior's keen eye. But the seed of doubt was planted. And when Ceres picked up a mithril weapon she'd only ever dreamed of, the look she gave Leifin shifted. For the first time, beyond caution and confusion, there was shock and a tiny, flickering spark. The spark of possibility. The easy times ended abruptly. On the dusk-lit street, a soft thud signaled a figure dropping from the wall. Then, squads of soldiers silently surrounded them. The lead officer's tone was flat but dripping with pressure. We would like to have a word with you. Trouble never announces itself. It always arrives when you're most relaxed, shattering your peace in the most official tone. Ceres' hand instinctively clenched the hilt of her new sword. The cards are on the table. A noble is seeking to claim the female elf, the dark-haired officer stated flatly. Leifin smiled, contempt undisguised. So, what's your point? The officer produced a document, his tone that of a routine acquisition. Sell us the elf, and you'll be generously compensated. This was how power viewed life, clearly priced, fair for all. But Leifin had more than enough experience flipping over such tables. No thanks. Leifin's refusal was so blunt it gave the men pause. The officers left, their expressions a mix of disbelief and contempt. Getting emotional over an elf slave? Ridiculous. Leifin watched them go, fury simmering beneath the surface. He knew whose men they were. Tarek. It seemed he hadn't given up. Now he was using official channels? Good. It saved Leifin the trouble of hunting him down. Plots were hatched in the shadows. Romad, Tarek's subordinate, returned empty-handed to a verbal thrashing. Why not just take her by force? A colder voice cut in. Violence, the last resort? No, for these maggots, it was just a more efficient business tactic. Kidnap the slayer, report her death, then demand double the ransom from her master. The plan was set. Leading the team? The fallen former knight, Sir Lantis. With an old-school powerhouse on the move, the hunt had truly begun. Rebuilding an empire required money. A lot of it. Leifin counted his remaining gold, but his gaze drifted to a map of the neighboring kingdom. Kraben, the nation of agriculture, had never known famine until this spring. The gears of memory began to turn. He knew what was coming. The earth goddess Lendi's blessing withdrawn, fields turning into mass graves. Where most would see tragedy, a former emperor saw a perfect investment opportunity. Choosing an investment wasn't just about profit, it was about revenge. The Ralphane Assembly? Out. Their leader, Tarek, abused Ceres. The Karen Trade Union? Out. That left the Tauban Trade Union. Specialized in grain, and best of all, locked in fierce competition with their rival Ralphane. That's the kind of partner Leifin needed, skilled and highly motivated. Their boss, Civil Tauban, was sweating over plummeting grain prices when a visitor walked in with 1,500 gold coins. Selling soap to orcs? Civil thought Leifin was insane. They'll get used to it, Leifin replied, almost letting his past life knowledge slip. His offer was unervingly generous. He'd bear all losses if it failed. Tauban would reap most of the profit if it succeeded. Civil wavered, not out of greed, but because Leifin had seen right through him. His trade union was on the brink, and this money was a lifeline. This was a negotiation with survival as the stake. Leifin won, decisively. But Leifin's true objective lay beneath the commercial transaction. He specified to receive the fund from the Tauban branch near the Delphia Magic Tower. Why? Because that tower was built by Leifinhart in his past life. This investment trip was a cover. He was going to investigate about his past, about the butterfly effects his rebirth might have accelerated. Tarek and the grain were just smokescreens. A far greater game was unfolding in his mind. Back to the present, the crisis had already arrived. On the training ground, Ciri stood with her sword, facing Killian. We, the High Elves, were once guardians of the forest, under the protection of Yggdrasil. The Elder's narration created a cruel contrast with her current cold, fighting stance. The more glorious the past, the more piercing the present suffering. Her sword was her last shred of dignity, her only weapon against a past of enslavement and mockery. Flashbacks tore through her memories. A burning castle, her mother's last words. Never forget your dignity. A dim cell, an adult elf teaching her how to be a good product. Then, the mockery from her own kind, simply for being pure-blooded. She curled up in a corner, the entire world against her, until she picked up a sword. Its cold touch reminded her of the elders who died with swords in hand. So the sword became her salvation, and the shell that isolated her from the world. Training was over. Ceres sheathed her sword. Killian marveled at her skill. She simply said, with hard work. Simple and heavy. Every technique was forged through countless injuries and despair. The memories were faint, but her parents' words, "Never forget your dignity," were branded on her heart. Her swordsmanship earned Killian's admiration. But could that admiration fill the void carved out by mockery and fear? The casual sparring session turned lethal in an instant. A figure descended from above like a phantom. Not Killian, but a true expert hired by Tarek. "I'll take you to your real master," the sneering man declared. Ceres instantly understood. This was no practice. It was an ambush. The earlier officers were just a probe. Now, the fangs were bared. And Leifin, somewhere else, would he make it in time? The situation spiraled out of control instantly. The courtyard was sealed off by figures in black cloaks. The red-haired Killian demanded answers. Their leader, Sir Lantas, coldly announced, "Don't count on someone else saving you. I've already taken measures against that." That clearly meant Leifin. They were prepared, their target clear, and had likely sent men to deal with Leifin already. Ceres and Killian were completely surrounded. The hunt for the elf entered its final phase. A flash of steel. Ceres held back no longer. Facing these lowlifes who saw her as a mere elf slave, her newly purchased mithril sword became an invitation from the Reaper. "You're merely an elf slave." The enemy officer's roar cut short as he realized the slave before him was unbelievably strong. Sparks, screams, bodies flew. Ceres proclaimed with her might, "You're wrong. Not just about my status, but about my power." Killian attempted to channel divine power, but the gathering light was shattered by a surge of malevolent purple energy. A foe with ash-blonde hair appeared, effortlessly swatting her aside. "Taking the life of a young pilgrim is a cakewalk," Sir Lantas sneered. This was the power of a fallen knight, their confidence for this raid. While Ceres could match their physical attacks, they were defenseless against magical assault and the true powerhouse of the group. The battle shifted drastically. Killian was down, caught off guard by a dirty trick. But then a calm voice cut through. "Don't worry, not a comfort, but a declaration." Takit, the orc captain with a warrior's sense of honor, drew his sword. He entered the fray, yet his target wasn't Ceres. The situation, thanks to an unexpected variable, became unpredictable once more. The true trump card made its entrance. A mountain of an orc warrior, Tarkata, stomped onto the scene. "Catch that elf," Sir Lantas ordered coldly. Tarkata grinned, tusks gleaming. "I will catch her." Unscathed, a warrior orc. A chill ran down Ceres' spine. She knew an orc's terror, strength, speed, endurance, all far surpassing humans. Gazing at his mountainous frame, a seed of doubt sprouted for the first time. Will I be able to defeat him? The exchange lasted only a moment. Tarkata moved with speed belying his massive frame. Ceres, armed with a dagger, was thrown back by sheer, terrifying force on the first clash, a pained gasp escaping her lips. "He's strong." The thought barely formed before a wave of regret hit. She'd left her primary weapon, her scimitar, in the room. Fighting an orc warrior with this random dagger? This wasn't a fight, it was suicide. She was flung back again, the disadvantage instantly turning into a death sentence. Rubble flew. Ceres was completely overwhelmed. Tarkata even mused, "Looks like I won't be getting any dinner tonight," treating the capture as a casual hunt. But the next moment, a figure shot into the scene like a cannonball. Not Leifin, but the orc who had bowed to Ceres earlier, Takit. He slammed into the massive Tarkata, sending him skidding back, and roared, "Tarkata, what the hell are you doing?" The plot had twisted yet again. "Look at this." Leifin isn't dodging at all. He's a human missile, launching into a savage dive straight at the Wolfman monster. This isn't fighting technique, it's pure, unadulterated violence. The monster is stunned, since when do opponents just not duck? But this reckless charge is built on absolute trust. At the last possible second, the blonde elven swordsman, Ceres, intervenes. A blade of light perfectly deflects a fatal throwing knife. Leifin's gamble paid off. He bet that the companion he saved would be worthy of his life. All hell breaks loose. The seemingly frail, pink-haired priestess, Killian, clasps her hands. The next moment, the sky itself seems to fracture. She's not praying, she's summoning. A skeletal demon woven from holy energy erupts from the ground, treating the pursuers like sacrificial offerings. Talk about a butterfly effect. Is this the powerful enemy drawn by Leifin's altered timeline? No. This is the terrifying divine art of his former companion. Killian literally summoned an undead cataclysm. But she knows this power is a last resort. That should buy us time. Now, let's get out. The trio flees as the world explodes behind them. The real danger is still on their tail. The pursuers are losing their minds. Even their own strongest orc warrior, Takit, is struggling against that elf. How is she this strong? They're having a full-on existential crisis. A being they bought as a slave is wiping the floor with their best. Here comes the final boss, Ser Lantas, the fallen knight who has awakened his aura. Feel the pressure. He doesn't even bother going around the building. He just jumps. Like a meteor, he flies over the rooftops. This is power-level disparity in action. The ground explodes when he lands. His own ally is left speechless. So that's the strength of an aura user? Game over. Cornered like rats. Leifin and his group, fleeing in panic, have run into an ancient building. But Lantis has already locked onto their life force. At the end of a long, dark corridor, a figure wreathed in crimson flames stands, laughing a bone-chilling laugh. How nostalgic, playing hide and seek. Nowhere left to run. Fight or die. Ceres and Killian develop insane teamwork on the fly. Go back for our gear. Are you insane? We can't fight empty-handed. In this life-or-death moment, the healer Killian reveals a terrifying will to fight. Who said priests can't get their hands dirty? In the next second, they ambush and take out a grunt who follow them inside. But they're still out of their depth. The real hunter, Lantas, is already blocking the corridor. He doesn't even need to enter the room. Within the 30-meter radius of his awakened aura perception, the movements of all living beings are crystal clear. Interesting, hiding a room, their presence removal technique is a joke to him. Lost them? Lantas' lackey is panicking. The old hunter just growls quiet. He knows the prey hasn't gone far. Meanwhile, Killian is having a breakdown mid-flight. Now I understand why pilgrims were dying one by one. Blocked in front, hunted from behind. Where can they possibly go? Where's hope? In her despair, Killian remembers that man. Leifin. If only he were here. She clings to this final straw, pushing her power to the limit. Pink light flares again, but this time it's not for attack. It's a prayer. Intersection of fate. She's using divine magic to force a destined encounter. But this prayer feels a bit off. The threads of fate meant to guide them are showing nothing but romantic rendezvous scenes. Even Ceres is sighing. This isn't what the prayer should be used for. Killian, are you a priest or a cupid? But somehow the coordinates of fate are being locked in. Right in the middle of a burning ruin. Found him? No. What they found is their nightmare. From behind a ruined archway, that terrifying face appears again. Lantas. Found you, greenhorns. Thanks to you, I got a little exercise in. Run? Can they run this time? Ceres' eyes harden. If we run, we give them our backs. There's only one answer. Cut down the enemy before you. Fight. Ceres draws her sword, fast as lightning. But Lantas merely blocks, even complimenting her mid-swing. Oh ho, not the skills of a greenhorn. You're quite talented. And his next words detonate the bomb. For a slave, this level is very unusual. Slave. That word ignites a fire in Ceres' eyes. All in. Faith, full armament blessing. Killian pours every ounce of her divine power into Ceres. Arms, eyes, legs, sacred enhancements surge through her. In this moment, Ceres is no slave. She's a holy warrior. Her next slash makes the air itself scream. I was only able to do it because I placed my trust in your skills. This is the power of a team. But the gap is too wide. Lantas lets out a light chuckle, and crimson aura erupts around him. Just because I played with you a little, you're getting your spirits high? Ceres' full power strike is effortlessly deflected by the aura. Killian is devastated. Why isn't Aura user here? That's like using a dragon's breath to boil soup. So it's him, Lantis von Kalpanad, the kingdom's legendary High Knight, a genius who awakened Aura at just 30. But he's also a demon in human skin. Starting with enslaving elves, his depravity spiraled until he committed the kingdom's greatest disgrace. The monster stands before them now. I now live by my salary. Lantis casually states he fled after killing hundreds. To the Roripan assembly, his vile reputation is irrelevant. His immense power is the positive fact, the perfect tool for dirty work. And now, he's going to seal Killian's divine powers and crush these toys completely. The final humiliation. Lantis grabs Killian, not even caring about gender. A male? That's a different flavor. A sickening grin spreads across his face. Ceres is held down by soldiers, and the red-haired Killian trembles in his grip. Is this it? All their resistance, a joke before absolute power. But at that very second, rubble explodes. A figure bursts through, accompanied by a roar of thunder. You bastards, dared to target Ceres. He's here, Leifin, descending with 10 years' worth of bottled rage. Sir Lantis, I'm going to break you, piece by piece. Listen to this declaration. Ceres is not a slave. Leifin roars through the dust. If we allow other beings to become slaves, then we ourselves can become slaves as well. It's the first shot of an ideological revolution. His roar is a declaration of war against the entire rotten slave system. The soldiers gawk at him like he's insane. Does he even know what he's up against? The reckoning begins. Faced with a fallen thug begging for mercy, Leifin only offers a cold smirk. Repent? If you truly repented, you'd turn yourself in. He sees right through their hypocrisy. Repentance is just an excuse to avoid punishment. And his mercy is beaten out of them with the truth. Your blood is already filthy enough. Leifin gazes at another pleading thug, his body wreathed in flame-like aura. You think you should die quickly to pay for your sins, right? This isn't a question. It's a verdict. Before the words even finish, the attack lands. In his eyes, these scum have no value alive. The dust settles. Leifin walks over to Ceres and Killian. Are you hurt? Healing was over long ago. Instead, Ceres, for the first time, asks him on her own, your body, is it all right? Leifin is struck. His comrade from a past life is, in this moment, finally opening her heart to him, even if just a crack. The truth, beaten out with fists. Who ordered you? Faced with stubborn thugs, Leifin pulls out a club wreathed in lightning. I'll show you mercy. Under the influence of physical persuasion, a name is sobbed out. It was Master Tarek, that animal who tormented Ceres for a decade in his past life. Finally, he's found him. Target locked. The leader of the Roripan assembly, Tarek, residing in the southern suburbs of Zeppelin. Leifin looks over the city of slaves with murderous intent in his eyes. If you go against him, you become an enemy of the entire district. So what? He was reborn to crush this trash. Meanwhile, in his mansion, Tarek smiles, waiting for the defective elf to be delivered. But what's being delivered is the prey, right? Nope, it's the Grim Reaper. Tarek is still wondering why the commotion outside won't stop, while two elven girls tremble in a corner. On Leifin's side, they've used Killian's memory erasure on the captives. Now, let's pay a visit to Master Tarek. The night of judgment has come. The final guard, Tarek's ace in the hole, a powerful orc warrior. Invading humans stop. His massive frame blocks the path. Leifin coldly questions him. Does the one you protect deserve your sword? A warrior's duty is to obey commands. But to Leifin, those words are just pathetic. The ultimate question, is it also your will to live as a slave? The words hammer into the orc warrior's heart. He doesn't fight for glory. He fights for orders. Leifin turns to Ceres. I'll leave him to you, Ceres. And Ceres draws two new swords. This time, I have a different weapon. The grudges of a past life, the settling of accounts in this one. They collide now. Note, input material lacks a scene description for IMG_200, which depicts a zombie character's battle. This entry serves as a generic transition. Meanwhile, on another front, while Leifin's main force strikes head-on, an unexpected undead contingent is wreaking bloody havoc inside Tarek's estate. Awakened remnants of the past are bringing the most chaotic form of vengeance. Ceres is worried about the mission, but Leifin tells her to relax. However, the orc Takata isn't interested in small talk. Leifin instantly recognizes the tactic, distraction. Classic orc move. Suddenly, a bizarre burst of purple smoke explodes. Not poison, but the distinct, acrid smell of narcotics. As the smoke clears, a depraved scene is revealed. Two half-naked men recoil in terror, demanding to know who's there. Leifin stands at the door, eerily calm. He's seen all sorts of filth in his 2 lifetimes. But this? A searing rage ignites in his eyes. I've witnessed countless acts of depravity, but this is something I refuse to witness with my own eyes wide open. Leifin's fury explodes. It feels like a monster is being born within the purple haze. His roar shakes the room. Why are there so many bastards in this world who deserve to die? The 2 nobles, finally feeling real fear, shriek for their missing bodyguard. Takat, where are you? Why are there no alarms? Too late. It's all far too late. Found you, Tarek, the man who tormented Ceres for a decade. He's helpless in Leifin's iron grip, offering money, power, anything. Pathetic. Leifin leans in, his voice dripping with icy promise. On behalf of the Ralpane Assembly, I'll compensate you with twice the suffering you inflicted upon her. Tarek finally connects the dots. This is a ghost from his past. You've always been the same, he screams. Leifin's fist is already moving. I may have lost to you then, but now you won't even have time to scream. Judgment delivered with knuckles. Leifin becomes a vengeful wraith. He systematically breaks the hands that touch Ceres, shatters the legs that kicked her. You dirted her with this hand. You kicked her with this leg. Don't even get me started on the rest. A horrified noble yells, "You murderer!" Leifin turns, his gaze freezing the man's blood. How laughable. Are you claiming you're not a murderer either? He's returning their cruelty 100-fold. Down goes another one, the shameless noble. The priestess Killian's verdict is chilling. He deserved to die even more cruelly. Leifin completely agrees. Their new companion is shocked at how quickly they adapt to the carnage. Killian shrugs it off. I've lived a long life of adventure. Then comes the stunning report. Ceres, the newly freed elf, has defeated the orc captain Takata single-handedly. It was a close one. Without Killian's healing, she wouldn't be standing. The transformation has already begun. Leifin confirms that Takata, though badly hurt, still breathes. But Tarek's focus is elsewhere. He recognizes Ceres, the slave I sold. Rage consumes him. Meanwhile, a sword is already at the throat of a blonde elf, one of Ceres' buyers. When questioned about murdering a child, the elf's smile turns sinister. Then I'll kill you as compensation for that child's soul. Leifin sees through the hypocrisy. His blade doesn't hesitate. As the elf falls, he gasps. But it's the least I could do. The false piety dies with him. A snowy night in the mountains. The huddled figures around the fire are all that remain. 17 female elves, 9 male orcs. Every slave from the mansion. Taka, the defeated orc captain, offers his broken sword to Leifin. My sword is broken. Now, your master is my master. An enemy from a past life becomes a comrade in this one. The threads of fate weave a new, unexpected tapestry. Looking at the list of rescued slaves, Ceres points out the grim market logic. Only female elves and male orcs are in demand. The mood darkens further at the name Sharon de Eldia. Killian whirls on the merchant, Sivold, shouting, "Have you ever even listened to their stories?" Just then, Leifin returns. He's holding the slave files. More importantly, he has emancipation orders stamped with the seal of the Ralpane Assembly leader. How? Simple. I smashed through the office wall and took them from a safe. Standing before the freed slaves, flames dancing around him, Leifin raises the documents high. Listen, if you no longer wish to be slaves, I grant you freedom. Silence. Then, confusion. Freedom. What does that mean? I don't understand. Killian's heart sinks. They don't even comprehend the word freedom. This is exactly what Leifin anticipated. Releasing them without a plan is just condemning them to a different hell. Changing their fate requires far more than a torn-up contract. Leifin approaches the merchant, Sivold, with his plan. He'll transfer all slaves under Sivold's name, creating a sanctuary from Tarek's reach. Sivold is dumbfounded. How does one even buy that many slaves? Leifin just thinks, I didn't buy them. I took them. His real concern is his own. Granting freedom to a group with no home, no skills, is just self-serving hypocrisy, a death sentence. Until their minds are free, their bodies are still prisoners. Leifin basically dumps a group of elves and orcs into Sivold's lap, along with a not-so-subtle threat to keep it quiet. Sivold is speechless. Then comes the clincher, a small fortune in gold coins, clattering onto the table. This should be enough for their upkeep, no? A calculation flashes in Sivold's mind. The house in the suburbs, pass them off as his own. Greed edges out terror. He takes the hot, but incredibly lucrative, potato. Sivold assumes looking after means food and a roof. Then Leifin drops a bomb that shatters his entire worldview. Educate them. Not obedience training. Real education. Reading, writing, math, history, philosophy, even medicine. Leifin doesn't want obedient slaves. He wants thinking, questioning individuals capable of choosing their own future. Under the astonished gaze of the elves, a silent war over the very definition of liberation unfolds in the opulent room. Civil argues the paradox. Why educate a slave? Leifin's logic is diabolically pragmatic. A more skilled slave is a more profitable slave. You pay for the education. It's a win-win. Civil hesitates, but raises the real obstacle. No scholar would stoop to teach them. A glint of something dangerous appears in Leifin's eyes. I know a scholar's status is high, but in his mind, a counterplan is taking shape, one that will turn that very sense of superiority against them. Leifin suggests the heretical. Hire poor students of scholars as teachers. Civil scoffs, they're not qualified, and slaves can't grasp such concepts anyway. It's like teaching arithmetic to dogs. Bingo. Civil just proved Leifin's point. The ruling class denies education precisely because they believe non-humans are inherently inferior. Leifin clenches his fist. I will use their deeply ingrained belief against them. The mind, the one frontier he couldn't conquer even as an emperor, is where he'll now plant his seeds. A grand strategy forms in Leifin's mind. He'll make educating slaves the trendy thing to do for slave owners. Insidious, self-spreading. It's a feat even he, a former grand mage, couldn't accomplish, changing hearts and minds directly. Lost in this vision, he's abruptly grounded by reality. Killian, looking serious, asks the crucial question. Killian, do we have any money left? Having left all his gold with Civil for the education fund, Leifin freezes. Money. Crap. Step 1 the master plan. Get more gold. Chaos in the Chotan Principate. Lord Tarek and Merchant Baron Beret brutally slain in their mansions. The killer is a ghost. Even the witnesses' memories are magically scrambled. The investigation is at a standstill. Meanwhile, our heroes find a rare moment of peace in Zephlin Village. Leifin offers Ceres his spare clothes, and her flustered reaction finally breaks into a genuine smile, the first in 10 years of slavery. Leifin quietly applauds. This calm is the quiet eye of the storm. 15 days later, in another ruin, Leifin watches Ceres and Killian in action. Ceres wields Nylon, a magic bow made from a branch of the world tree, raining down volleys of shimmering arrows. Killian's holy magic flows seamlessly, enhancing each strike into a devastating divine smite. Their synergy is terrifyingly effective. Leifin makes a chilling internal note. Asterisk Killian's potential. She might even surpass Ellen, the saintess I considered my nemesis in my past life. Asterisk, why did history have no record of her? The ripple effects are growing. They finally arrive at their destination, the fabled ancient ruin known as Illusion. What Leifin desperately needs is inside, but their path is blocked by a massive stone door, sealed shut by powerful wards. Killian sighs. We should have hired a mage. Little does she know, the mightiest one is standing right there. Leifin observes the sealed gate, then slowly brings his hands together. The presence of the grand mage Reinhardt begins to stir within him once more. When Leifin begins channeling arcane power, Killian's jaw hits the floor. You know magic too? He ignores her, chanting an ancient incantation. The sheer amount of mana surging around him makes Killian gasp. Who needs this much power to open a simple third-tier door? 13 minutes later, the door groans open. Leifin, looking pale, shrugs. Never mind, it's open. Killian is in awe. Please, never call yourself just a mage again. You're a monster. Leifin knows the truth. He has the skill, but no core power source. That spell nearly drained him. He needs the artifact fast. They charge into the deepest chamber of illusion. Leifin's heart plummets. Empty. Plundered clean. The voice of illusion he was supposed to discover 17 years from now is gone. A profound dread grips him. It's not just about losing the artifact. It's the terrifying realization. The timeline, the history he knew, it's already been rewritten by his own existence. The powerful foes he was supposed to face a decade later, they might already have the artifact. Or worse, they might be coming for him now. No artifact, but not a total loss. Ceres bonds with what looks like a simple stick. It's Nylon, the magic bow crafted from a branch of the world tree. Leifin sees its true nature instantly. It can create endless magical arrows guided by the wielder's will. A divine weapon. Watching Ceres grow accustomed to its power, Leifin finds a sliver of comfort. At the very least, the fates of those around him are definitely changing for the better. With a sense of loss, They settle into Jahalan village at the mountain's base. The villagers serve simple, hearty food, which the weary, battle-hardened group devours with gusto, much to the chef's surprise. Noble knights usually scorn such fare. Inside, Leifin is screaming. His only lead to restoring his magic is gone. But he keeps it hidden, because the relaxed smiles of his companions, especially Ceres, in this moment of peace, feel more precious than any artifact. In the village tavern, Leifin buys a crucial piece of information with a few silver coins. An expedition team, headed by Viscount Kelbrin, beat them to the ruins by a week. And among them, a knight clad head to toe in golden armor. Leifin's face turns to stone. There's only one person on the entire continent fitting that description. Count Eudes Tense, the Grand Tutor of the Graham Kingdom, the Golden Knight. The timeline hasn't just shifted, it's accelerated dramatically. One of his future nemeses has entered the game 7 years early. Elsewhere, in an opulent castle, the Golden Knight, Sir Eudes, dines. He has already claimed a third of the treasure from the Illusion ruins as part of his deal with Viscount Kelbrin. On a continental map, a crimson line traces a path north from the Graham Kingdom. Leifin, the butterfly, flapped his wings in a small principality, and the resulting hurricane is now drawing in the continent's top powers years ahead of schedule. The next storm is on the horizon, and our reincarnated King of Fists has only just begun his true game, the liberation of hearts and minds.